On the 18th of October 2013, this happened. Did you see him? The clown. In just a few moments, this clown would kill Francisco Rafael Arellano Felix, the feared leader of the Tijuana Cartel, right in front of everyone celebrating his 63rd birthday. The clown was actually José Rodrigo Aréchiga Gamboa, the top hitman for the Sinaloa Cartel, known as El Chino Ántrax. Let's dive into his story. Los Ántrax. José Rodrigo Aréchiga Gamboa might have started out like any other kid from a good family. Born on June 15th in the lively city of Culiacan, right in the heart of Sinaloa, Mexico. His dad had a government job and his mom was a scholar, making them a well-respected, fairly well-off family. But living next door to the Zambadas was bound to steer his life in an unexpected direction. The Zambadas weren't just any family. They were deeply entangled with the notorious Sinaloa Cartel. Ishmael El Mayo Zambada Garcia, one of the cartel's low-key but fierce leaders, chose to stay out of the limelight, unlike the showy El Chapo. El Mayo's sons, Vicente, Ismael, Imperial, and Serafin, grew up with Aréchiga. They went to the same schools, played on the same sports teams, and hung out together, binding their lives closely from a young age. In court, Aréchiga's mom would speak about how close her son was with the Zambada boys since they were little. Though Aréchiga initially seemed set for a different life, dreaming of becoming a military pilot, a dream cut short by a health issue, he even started studying architecture in college. Life seemed to be heading back to normal with the birth of his daughter and his marriage. Yet destiny had other plans. With new family responsibilities and the strong pull of his childhood friends, Aréchiga found himself being drawn deeper into a world he might have once avoided. New beginnings. Being the main provider was hard on Aréchiga, and he turned to his old friends, the Zambada siblings, for support. One of them, Vicente Zambada, also known as El Vincentio, offered to help him in the only way he knew, by bringing Aréchiga into the cartel's secret activities. At first, Aréchiga's job seemed simple, like managing shipments, but he was so good at that he quickly got involved in more serious stuff. He used his smarts from architecture to hide the drug smuggling behind normal business activities, like trucking companies. This clever setup made it easy to get things across borders without raising suspicions. Aréchiga's skills made him well known in the Sinaloa Cartel, especially to El Vincentio's father, El Mayo. At this point, a darker side of him showed up. He became really violent. He didn't just join in, he was worse than others, known for leaving his victims' bodies in public places as a scary warning. People even said that the fear he caused followed his victims to the grave, making him like a ghostly figure of death in the stories people told. El Chino moved up fast, eventually becoming the bodyguard for El Vincentio. Things got messy in 2008 when the Beltran Leyva brothers broke away from the cartel, sparking a deadly feud. That same year, a tough subgroup within the Sinaloa Cartel was formed by Mayo Zambada to protect his family from the Beltran Leyvas and the brutal Los Zetas. This group was called Los Ántrax, named after the deadly anthrax bacterium. They acted as both bodyguards and hitmen, keeping Zambada's family safe and taking out rivals and traitors. Initially led by Alfredo Vizcarra Vega, nicknamed El Feo Ántrax, or EL1, this group was a deadly force. Under him, guys like Eliseo Imperio Castro, El Cheo Ántrax, EL2, and René Velasquez Valenzuela, EL3, the chief hitman, orchestrated a violent dance that kept their enemies away from their turf. Further down the line, there was Francisco Arce Rubio, also called Pancho Arce, or EL4, and the notorious José Rodrigo Aréchiga Gamboa, who went by El Chino, or EL5. A gunshot-filled showdown on February 28, 2008, saw Velasquez, also known as El Taliban, and El Sargento Phoenix clash with the Mexican army in Culiacan. In the chaos, he managed to distract the military, giving El Chino Ántrax a chance to escape, though his exact rank in the group was a bit murky and might have been boosted because of his close ties with Serafin, a son of Zambada. After Vizcarra Vega's death on November 4, 2008, Rodrigo Aréchiga Gamboa, or El Chino Ántrax, took over command of Los Ántrax. Social media lifestyle. El Chino, representing a new wave of traffickers, used social media to show off his lavish lifestyle. His posts were filled with sports cars, guns, fancy jewelry, and stacks of cash, all set against the backdrop of yacht parties where famous narco corrido bands played for the elite. His life, celebrated in narco corrido songs, showcased him as a stylish figure indulging in his riches. Online, using names like El Comandante Ántrax and Scarface Renacido, El Chino's social media buzzed with giveaways like cell phones and luxury cars, and he shared videos of himself working out, always full of energy and sticking to a high-protein diet. Despite his love for staying anonymous, always keeping his face hidden in posts, his digital presence was clear. You could recognize him by a skull-shaped diamond ring, the deadly symbol of Los Ántrax. Even though he blurred his features, his flashy posts from travels around the world, from Europe to Las Vegas, caught the relentless attention of U.S. law enforcement. The downfall of Los Ántrax. Under Chino's tough leadership, Los Ántrax sliced through the ranks of the Juarez Cartel during the intense turf wars with the Sinaloa Cartel. By 2011, things had quieted down, but the tension was still there, simmering. Suddenly, the Juarez Cartel and their armed wing, La Línea, burst back onto the scene with bold displays of narcomantas in Chihuahua firing up the old rivalry. The streets soon became battlegrounds again. Los Ántrax found themselves in frequent, fierce fights with rival groups. One of these clashes ended tragically for Francisco Arce Rubio, known as Pancho Arce, EL4 El Arista, who was shot down by the Beltran-Levia cartel at a local football game, killed in a hail of AK-47 gunfire. In the following year, the violence escalated. A brutal shootout resulted in the death of 5 men, including Roque Ántrax, a Cesario working for Mayo Zambada. The hits just kept coming. In April 2013, a police raid in Culiacan caught several members of Los Ántrax, including José Miguel Aramo Montoya, El Monkey, and Rafael Guadalupe Felix Núñez, El Changuito Ántrax, EL6 or Rafa. The capture. The net finally closed on January 3, 2014, when Dutch authorities working with the Mexican embassy captured a 33-year-old Mexican at Amsterdam Airport Schiphol. He had entered the Netherlands just days before under the fake name Noberto Cesarios Garcia, but he was actually El Chino Ántrax. When he was caught, which the U.S. government later confirmed, Aréchiga Gamboa had several airline tickets, an iPhone 5, a BlackBerry Bold, credit cards, and a Mexican driver's license on him. Notably, he wore his silver skull ring, the emblem of his fierce loyalty to Los Ántrax, marking his identity right up to the end. The fall of Chino Ántrax could be straight out of a movie, highlighted by his drastic efforts to change his looks, plastic surgeries to change his face, and altered fingerprints to try and wipe away his past. Despite these tricks, forensic experts managed to see through his disguises, confirming his true identity with high-tech methods. After his capture, Ántrax was sent to the high-security Voot prison, facing tough justice on January 2nd. The U.S. government and Interpol worked together to capture him, showing just how determined they were to chase down cartel leaders. He was charged with moving huge amounts of drugs across the U.S.-Mexico border, a serious accusation that started extradition efforts to bring him to a U.S. court. There he would deal with the severe consequences of the Kingpin Act, showing how significant his role was in the drug trafficking scene. Court records show a man deeply involved in the Sinaloa Cartel, once a bodyguard for El Mayo Zambada, helping manage logistics and transportation for El Chapo, and close to the notorious enforcer Gonzalo Nzuza. In a surprising turn, Chino Ántrax became an informant, revealing deep secrets of the cartel. This happened at the same time as a major crackdown that broke up several Sinaloa-connected gangs in California. His decision to turn informant was a desperate move to survive, playing out as law enforcement caught other major cartel figures like Serafin Zambada Ortiz and as Vicente Zambada Niebla swapped cartel info for a lighter sentence. While Ántrax's story unfolded in prison, a heartbreaking event took place in Culiacan. Yoriana Castillo Torres, the mother of Ántrax's son, was about to get into her white Jeep Cherokee when she faced a terrifying attack. Armed attackers quickly overpowered her. When she tried to fight back, they hit her on the head. The only trace of her struggle was a single shoe left behind. By the next morning, an unsettling quiet hung over Paseo de las Palmas Boulevard in Lomas de Guadalupe. This silence broke abruptly when a car sped up and threw a white, cord-bound bundle into an empty lot. At first, locals thought it was just trash, but a dreadful truth came to light. It was the body of Castillo Torres. Her body showed signs of brutal torture. Her limbs were tied with electrical cables, and she had been suffocated to death. Rumors spread that this was a tragic mistake, a botched job where Castillo Torres was not the intended victim. The actual target, known as La Emperatrix de los Ántrax, looked strikingly similar to Castillo, adding a cruel twist of fate to her death. As whispers filled the underworld, Los Ántrax and top members of the Sinaloa Cartel gathered in the grim shadow of her funeral. The ultimate end. In the midst of all of this, El Chino Ántrax, José Rodrigo Aréchiga Gamboa, was caught up in legal troubles. He admitted to helping the Sinaloa Cartel's violent acts and drug trafficking, and his cooperation with both the Mexican and U.S. authorities marked him. Although his help reduced his sentence, the dark deeds of his past still hung over him. He was released to house arrest in Mexico in March 2020, tasting freedom briefly, but by May, violence erupted again, filling the air with the smell of gunpowder and fear. During this chaos, a woman and 2 men were taken by mysterious figures, and the aftermath showed a door scarred by gunshots. By the time the local police got there, the damage was obvious. The front door was full of bullet holes from the shootout. The real story came out a bit later. This wasn't just a random act of violence. It was a planned attack by a hit squad from the Sinaloa Cartel. Inside the house, Chino Ántrax and his crew had put up a strong fight until they ran out of bullets. Outnumbered, they ended up in the hands of the attackers. The next day, the aftermath of that night's violence was found in a lonely area in Ayunes, Sinaloa. Police discovered a black SUV with a chilling find in the trunk. The bodies of 39-year-old José Rodrigo Aréchiga Gamboa, known as Chino Ántrax, and his sister Ada Jimena, and her husband Juan Garcia. They had all been shot, and their bodies were wrapped in cloth with black plastic bags over their faces, a clear sign of cartel cruelty. The killing was cold and deliberate, not just a simple gang fight, but a direct order from the top ranks of the Sinaloa Cartel, punishing Chino Ántrax for what they saw as his betrayals. With his death, the future of Los Ántrax is uncertain. They used to be tough enforcers for the Zambada family, but now their numbers are fading. Those who aren't dead are in prison. What remains of them might only be shadows now, guarding what's left of their past glory.